Day 20, and today I was resting all day because we were celebrating my husband's birthday, and it was interesting just to observe how no matter how perfect the conditions may be, it doesn't always translate into perfect bliss. Basically what I was doing today is something that, you do on vacation. I was near the sea, I was lying around, lounging around. I ate well, I was with the person with whom it was easy, and yet it was interesting to just observe how we're constantly in reaction. We're taking like the information in, and we're constantly in reaction to everything. Outside information, inner reactions, and familiar types of reactions and thoughts and worries. And it's just interesting to observe how we always think, I'll be happy when. And we have a whole list of, dream scenarios and, a particular setting, or being in a particular stage in your life, or, being with a particular person. And more I'm coming to the realization that happiness is not ever going to come from outside. Because even when circumstances for this moment, for this one perfect moment are, what you thought you wanted, what you thought you desired, it's still not guaranteed that, you'll have a perfect impression. And it's just a constant choice, actually. It's a constant choice. I find myself making a conscious effort now to observe my thoughts and to realize what is what serves me and what doesn't. Really, there are so many thoughts that come into my mind throughout the day, familiar, reactive, and I just have to make a conscious effort whether to focus on them or discard them. And it's not that easy, actually. It's not that easy, because to suffer, to be angry, it's such a familiar state of being. I always compare it to, like, if you take an old record, the LP, where, do you remember, those of you who know what that is? Remember there were these tracks for music, for songs, for each song had its own tracks. And I find that it's kind of what's happening in our mind as well. Our mind has these tracks, and the more familiar the thought is, the deeper the groove. And so part of this work of rewiring, of awakening, of deconditioning, rather, it's kind of like trying to erase the old grooves and make new ones. So when I say that I'm consciously trying to see, identify which thoughts don't serve me anymore, and try not to focus on them, and try to lay new tracks for thoughts that actually serve me. And it's not easy, right? Because the mind tends to go back to the familiar grooves, the grooves that are already there, and you just make them deeper and deeper and deeper. So to take those, to try to erase those, to make new grooves, takes an enormous amount of concentration and focus, at least in the beginning. Because breaking old habits it's not easy. It's really hard for this specific reason, because you do have to be quite vigilant, at least in the beginning. And then with time, it becomes the new normal, it becomes the new habit, so then you don't work quite so hard on it, and it becomes, the new normal and new automatic. But yeah, I've been really watching myself today, observing myself today, and realizing that, happiness is you kind of have to work at it, at least for all of us who've come through life that wasn't, always picture perfect, which I think is all of us, to train ourselves to think that to be open to receive happiness takes concerted effort, at least in the beginning, in order to train your mind. And it really is that, right? It's also that ability to receive, because being boarded up, being closed off, being worried, being in a protective mode is what we know. And also the overgiving, the controlling, the managing, the manipulating of other people and their impression of us. Like today, for example, I was with my husband, and there were quite a few moments where, it would have been so easy to get annoyed. And I made, at least today, I made a conscious effort not to get annoyed, not to just continue being in the open and receptive state. And it's an effort. It's an effort. And not only with my husband, obviously, in so many things in life. I caught myself this week, again, being in a kind of rut over a particular situation. And when I looked back at it, I realized that there were so many wonderful things that happened at the same time. But I was so focused on what wasn't working that I wasn't even able to receive what was good. And this is really what I'm constantly working on now. And I think this is the path to peace, the path to happiness. It's that constant checking in with ourselves and remaining in the state of receiving, remaining in the state of openness, remaining in the state of not closing automatically, not being boarded up, not going toward that delicious thought of like putting down a person who we perceive as somebody who hurt us, or complaining about a situation that wasn't ideal. It's really becoming so vigilant in observing, does this thought serve me? And if it doesn't, just deactivate it, and activate the thoughts that actually serve me. So today, for example, to make it a little bit more practical, today being with my husband in a beautiful setting, I had to, I had to really focus on enjoying and focusing on all that was good. And there was plenty that was good. There was so much that was good. And yet it was interesting to observe that there was also a lot that could have swayed me. And I would have just gotten into that spiral of complaining, even if it's within me, right? Or resentment, or something that it's always or never, anytime we use these words, always or never, it's like, that's it, you're in a habitual mode, because nothing is never, and nothing is forever, and nothing is always. And life is shifting and changing all the time, and to give it opportunity to surprise us in a positive way takes a real effort. We think that happiness and bliss, that it comes, it's a kind of a state, and it is. I think when you train yourself, it does become a kind of a state of being. But until we get there, so much retraining, so much unlearning has to happen and then relearning new skills of focusing on what actually feels good. So yeah, that's me today. See you tomorrow.